Why are more and more people saying no thanks to having kids? It's not just about money. Today, we'll dive into 3 alarming reasons why parenthood is losing its appeal, and some of these might surprise you, especially the third reason. It's one of the most debated topics out there, and trust me, it's a game changer. But to truly understand it, we need to dive into the first 2 reasons first. Let's go. The most obvious reason is money, but the story is far more complicated than just rising prices or stagnant wages. Let's start with one of the biggest obstacles to financial freedom today: student debt. Back in the 1970s, student loans were relatively rare. In the United States, fewer than 15% of college students graduated with any significant debt. Today, that number has skyrocketed to over 55%, with the average loan sitting at nearly $30,000. In Europe, the situation varies. While countries like Germany have kept education costs low, nations such as the UK are seeing debt levels similar to the US, with 60% of graduates carrying loans. The generational shift is staggering. 50 years ago, higher education was often fully or partially subsidized, and students could cover their costs with part-time jobs. Now, many graduates begin their professional lives with financial baggage that could take decades to pay off. What if your student debt wasn't just a financial burden, but the reason you're delaying the life you've dreamed of? In the US, the average borrower takes about 20 years to fully repay their loans. For those pursuing advanced degrees, such as law or medicine, repayment can stretch beyond 30 years. In Europe, repayment terms vary widely. In Germany, loans are smaller and often repaid in under 10 years, but in the UK, repayment plans can extend up to 30 years. Research shows that financial insecurity is one of the top reasons young adults delay having children. In the US, a Pew Research study found that over 40% of adults under 40 cite financial concerns as their main reason for postponing parenthood. The pressure of repaying loans often means postponing other major life milestones, like marriage or buying a home, which are traditionally linked to starting a family. In Europe, a 2021 study revealed that debt and job instability were key factors behind declining birth rates, especially in countries with higher living costs. The result? A generation that feels trapped between the desire to build a family and the reality of financial constraints. For many, the math just doesn't add up, and they're opting out entirely. Debt might be one reason people hesitate to start a family, but what about the costs that come after? Spoiler alert, raising a kid is like signing up for an 18-year subscription to the world's most expensive club. In the US, the cost of raising a child from birth to age 18 is now estimated at $233,000 based on a USDA report. That doesn't even include college tuition. Housing takes up the biggest chunk of this cost, accounting for nearly 30%, followed by food, 18%, childcare, 16%, and healthcare, 9%. Across the board, the rising costs of housing, food, and education make many prospective parents anxious about whether they can balance these expenses with their other financial goals. In today's world, having kids isn't just about love and responsibility. It's also about keeping up appearances. Parents feel constant pressure to provide the best for their children, the best clothes, the best schools, and the best extracurricular activities. A study by the Pew Research Center found that over 60% of parents in the US feel stressed about whether they're giving their kids enough opportunities to succeed. Social media doesn't help. Every scroll reveals picture-perfect families who seem to have it all. This culture of perfect parenting makes many potential parents hesitate, thinking they need to hit an impossible standard before they even start. Now that we've explored the financial barriers to parenthood, let's dive into the second reason why people are opting out: shifting priorities and the evolving role of family among younger generations. This one hits closer to home. It's about how we define happiness and success. For many young adults today, freedom is the ultimate luxury. In surveys conducted across the US and Europe, the majority of millennials and Gen Z cite personal growth, travel, and career advancement as top priorities, well ahead of starting a family. Studies show that younger generations value experiences over traditional milestones like marriage or parenthood. Think about it. Why settle down when you can explore the world, start a passion project, or climb the career ladder? This isn't just a trend, it's a reflection of how modern life rewards individualism. Social media amplifies this too. Sharing highlights of trips, hobbies, and achievements creates a culture where living for yourself is not just acceptable, but celebrated. In previous generations, family wasn't just important, it was everything. Your parents, your siblings, and your extended relatives often dictated the course of your life, from your career to your marriage. But today, younger generations are redefining these relationships. Studies show that millennials and Gen Z feel less pressure from relatives to get married or have kids than any generation before them. In part, this shift comes from the rise of individualism and the belief that happiness isn't tied to traditional roles. Societies have also become more accepting of diverse lifestyles, from remaining single to choosing child-free relationships. With less societal and family pressure, people feel freer to live on their own terms. And for many, that doesn't include kids. As society moves away from traditional family norms, mobility emerges as a powerful force shaping our way of life. In the past, people tended to stay close to home. You grew up, got married, and raised your own family in the same town or even the same house. But today, younger generations are more mobile than ever. Whether it's for education, career, or adventure, millennials and Gen Z are constantly on the move. Studies show that over 50% of young adults in the US have relocated at least once in the last 5 years, often to entirely new cities or countries. This mobility makes it harder to maintain close family ties, let alone settle down and start a family of your own. So, we've tackled financial struggles and shifting priorities, but now it's time to talk about the third and perhaps the most controversial reason people are opting out of parenthood. And here it is: women's education and independence. Before you start typing that angry comment, let me clarify. This is about research and societal trends, not opinions or judgments. Let's dive into how these factors are reshaping family life. Higher education has opened countless doors for women, and the numbers tell the story. In the US, over 50% of women now hold at least a bachelor's degree, a sharp increase from just 8% in 1960. Across Europe, women are leading university enrollment in many countries, including Sweden, Germany, and France. This remarkable progress has reshaped life priorities. For example, surveys consistently show that women with advanced education are more likely to postpone or even decide against having children. Why? With greater career opportunities and financial independence, many women choose to focus on their professional goals or personal growth. Motherhood, for some, no longer feels like an essential milestone, but an optional chapter that may not align with their vision of success. Maternity leave is yet another critical factor for many women when deciding to have children, and the financial implications are significant. In the US, federal law offers no guaranteed paid maternity leave. Only about 21% of workers have access to employer-provided paid leave, and for most, taking time off means a direct hit to their income. By contrast, European countries generally provide generous maternity leave. Sweden, for example, offers 480 days of leave per child, with pay partially covered by the government. But even with paid leave, the impact on long-term career prospects can't be ignored. Studies show that women who take extended maternity leave often face slower career progression, lower lifetime earnings, and limited opportunities for leadership roles. The decision to prioritize family over work creates a financial ripple effect, not just for mothers, but for entire households. So, what happens to a world where fewer people are choosing to have kids? Will society adapt, or will we face consequences we can't predict? These are questions that don't have easy answers, and that's why we need to talk about them. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more eye-opening discussions. See you next time.